Hello and welcome to Aetheryte Radio Gamerscape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I'm FusionX, and today we've got Xenedra and Rook because poor Aldiano, he's been sick, he's had work, and now they're redoing the asphalt right outside his window. So we're missing him again, which is unfortunate because this was his episode to come back and say, "I told you that Summoner was OP," and he's gone for it. But hopefully the powers that be will not prevent him from being here next week. So
he's just trying to be a hero to your ears, you guys.
Yes. Yeah, he's trying to save you from the terrible construction noises.
Well, and he doesn't want to have to be sitting there like hitting the mute button every like 2 seconds, right? He'll start like, I have a really good point to make. He's like, hold on, jackhammer. We're just gonna mute this and we'll just sit here for a minute. And Xenedra in the editing afterwards, she's just like, I hate everything about this right now. Just, having to cut out little chunks of jackhammer mutes.
It could be worse, right? If all I have to do is cut out like little sections of nothing, it's really obvious where that is.
That's true. That's fair. So today we've got live.
The episode gets. Oof.
That's true.
We'll see. We're gonna try and not be super long, but there is a lot to talk about. We've got the trailer for the patch. We've got a live letter. I got emotional with this trailer. I think we've talked about 5 Point. Why are you laughing?
Because of what I told you earlier. Please continue. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at myself.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes it all better then. The trailer for this patch. There's some other like details in the patch that I think like, I don't know about this, but the trailer. This is everything I wanted 5.1 to be. We're getting answers to things. We're getting the next set of trials. Okay, so first off, we've got it starts off with Ruby Weapon, which is piloted by somebody. I think right now that the theory is going to be the twins from Gimlet Dark, potentially, because we haven't seen them in a while. They're probably up to something. But the idea that the entire like weapon trial arc is basically just like Gaius's backstory on like, so all that stuff I did with Ultima back in 2.0 is coming back to bite me in the ass, and now we have to deal with all this other stuff, and that's super awesome because I've been wanting Gaius back forever. So we have that. They got the I had to laugh, the track for the Ruby Weapon that they showed us. It's another mix of the Ultima track, but with the lyrics from the orchestrated version. So you have that heart of Sabik in the background there. So obviously, that's going to be. I'm curious if they actually took the audio from one of the concerts and mixed it in, because
that would be so cool.
Like it could be. Yeah, they're like, oh, we have this audio. Like we should totally just use this. Yeah. So that's really cool. I'm really excited to see what they do with that storyline. To see a little bit more about Gaius. We'll see more about the weapons. We'll get a lot of lore from that. And then we progress a little bit. We see a little bit of I always get the name wrong. Anamnesis Niter, which is like actual legit like Amarot runes, not like, hey, Emmett sucks, like look what I made with magic. It's like actually like Amarot, talking about creation.
I'm so excited
and stuff
about that because when we first were getting information about the fact that this was going to be another dungeon kind of set in Amarot, at first I was a little bit disappointed because I was going, I want to see like the shiny Amarot. I guess if we have to go through some old dank ruins that are just full of water
legit
and stuff.
legit OG Amarot.
Yeah, but it's kind of amazing because when you think about it, everything that we know about Amarot from the actual like, I don't know, envisioning that Emmett Selk creates is something that he has controlled to some degree. Like, we know that there are some outliers with his vision and memories that he's sort of created, but this is going to be like an original building that's untainted by sort of his own twist on what he's trying to do.
The cat agrees. The cat full-heartedly agrees. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, right, we come out of 5.0, and my brain is just like, I want to know everything about Amarot because it's such a crazy area, right? And then we get like this weird castle that's just like, all right, that's cool, I guess. But now we actually are going back into Amarant. And then we're getting flashes of just so many things. They're talking about, so, you know, they show some stuff with Aetheryte. They talk about, you know, vessels for creation. A little bit later in the trailer, we see us holding what looks to be like Auracite, which is like, oh, hey, remember that? And then...
Yeah, sure do.
Right, yeah. And so then they have that. We see running around with Cid, and I should have looked this up beforehand. She was a character in the Ivalice quest line, the Aura woman. She's here.
I cannot tell you her name.
I forget her name. But she's here. So that they're bringing Ivalice right back into the lore with all this stuff, which supports my reasoning of why the Nier raid is bad and all the collaborations should be in series, because you're not going to have 2P showing up to help Cid later on in like 6.0. It's just it's not going to happen.
Know that?
I mean, maybe.
Don't.
No. He's
Look,
not,
No.
Look, maybe.
I mean, probably not with all the, you know, like first source stuff, but you know.
That's the benefit of it, right? Is that it is separated that way. So good.
I mean, when you think about it, though, the Ivalice raids, this was actually one of the things from, and I'm sure we'll get into this more later, one of the things from the trailer and the announcements that completely caught me off guard. The fact that Ivalice is still going to play a role in this story. And I mean, it makes sense because obviously we know that Dalmasca exists and, you know, is a part of the world and that it's a region we could explore more. But I was not expecting them to continue this storyline outside of that 24-man. And the fact that it's now a requirement for relic weapons, the fact that it's showing up in our trailer, that it has all this story that might still be affiliated with it, it makes sense because we did get some massive reveals about like the Zodiac Warriors and
we did have that
Aetheryte
cliffhanger at the end that people are like, what is this? This is really weird. Why would they have a cliffhanger like that? And now we know why.
So it makes sense, but I was totally caught off guard with this, completely. I mean, people are going to be trying to get those done. If you haven't finished them, make sure you try and get all of those done beforehand if you want to start Relic and you want the story to tie in, you know?
Yeah, so we see us and Cid and the Ivalice girl running around what looks like some kind of Garlean installation. Cid's coughing, probably Black Rose? Maybe? Like, I don't know what else it would be. Right? But I mean, like, we know Cid, you know, they would go to try and stop more production of Black Rose. And then this is one of those, like, we were talking to us a little bit before the show of like bad trailers for movies that like show off everything. We have the Crystal Exarch kind of like grab his crystalled arm right as we see all of the Scions teleport in around Cid. So this also includes Reen. So I guess they're back on the source now in this patch.
Spoilers.
Right? Yeah. Because I don't think they're on the first. There's no Garlean installations on the first that we know of. Nope. That would be weird.
Don't exist.
Yeah. Lots of lore, lots of Y'shtola talking about the imprint of the soul and the mind and the relation between that. Then they just drop the bomb. We get clouds, we get Dalamud, and we get the meteor shower from 1.0.
That's what I was
I lost it. I lost it when I saw that. I was just like, because we saw.
I personally had some PTSD from my character right in that moment. That's why I was laughing earlier. Because you were like, I'm so emotional. I was like, me too.
We saw Dalamud, right? It's in the key art for the patch. I'm like, that looks like Dalamud. Okay, that's interesting. But then they show the meteor shower, and you're just like, oh, okay. So we're answering that now.
Yeah, like all of these things are tying together, and I think like exactly like you were saying, Fusion, this patch, I was not expecting this from this trailer. Like when this trailer came out, I sat there going, wait, hold on, what? And I had to go back and rewatch it like 5 times because there's so much. It feels almost like it is like an expansion, you know, I mean, and it's not, obviously we're getting this in a patch, but the fact that there are these massive revelations and we have this tie-in between I mean, obviously, we know with Dalamud, we're going to the location where a lot of this project was sort of created, and we are, trying to go see in the ruins where Sid's father died. All these things are tying in with like our relic weapon, so all of that is really relevant. And then we're getting into this stuff here with the possibility, right, with the murals of Heidelin, this idea and discussion of the imprints of the soul. There's been a lot of, myself included, sort of hypothesizing that this might have something to do with the theory that the Warrior of Light may have been one of the original summoners of Heidelin, and that some of these memories that we're accessing may have something to do with like the downfall of Amarot and what led to this like collision. So getting these like overlaps of the imagery of the destruction of Dalamud and the destruction of Amarot and whatever's happening with the Crystal Tower, it's all very, very tantalizing in a way that makes me whip out like 50 tin hats to just start like putting them all on to try and pull it apart.
You're swapping hats like Koji singing Moogle at FanFest. You're just like, all right, here's this tin hat, here's this tin hat. It's really interesting too, I think, in the trailer. So we have the clouds roll in, we have the meteor shower. This is over the Crystarium is where we first see it, and then there's this like kind of cut or transition where it looks like it makes sense, right? Does it though? Because
not for that particular world, but for that area, Lakeland and Wardona. Twinsies.
Well, maybe, yeah, but it's also the other. It's on the first instead of the source, so that's interesting.
What I mean. Not for the world, right? But for the area.
Yeah, but then we have this kind of like cut where it looks like maybe it's also in Garlemald, or it's just showing Amarot again. Because we've got this scene right where everything's kind of burning, it's on fire. It reminds me of Amarot, but then they have this scene right there too where you have Xenos walking around. Mm-hmm. So either it's in Garlemald or he's checking out some Amarot stuff or something. So I'm really curious to see how they...
memory is just confused. Very confused, and it's smooshing stuff together.
I forget where I put this meteor shower. I'm just going to put it... Was it over here? Was it over here? Let's just put it in both for now. We'll just... Yeah, sure. I'm really curious to see what they do with that. Also, during that, too... We've got that classic hear, feel, think, all that stuff, which we haven't had in a long time.
I lost it. I talk about the tin hats coming out, and I didn't even catch that. I didn't even catch that the first time I watched it. When I watched it through a second time, and I started looking at how they line up all these different things, right? And I would advise people, like, go watch this trailer like 10 times, because I think they have put everything in an order very specifically, right? Like we get this discussion of like the perfect ideals, the concepts, which is really neat because it also kind of draws from ancient philosophy and Plato and like these ideas, right, of the ideals. This idea of ideal concepts being stored within what we think might be Auracite, but we're not 100% sure, right? So like, could we find a template of the original summons of Zodiark and Heidelin? Is there something else there? Are there memories locked in it? And then we get another one that was interesting, this like flash to the Serpent of Ronka, the crystal, that if you have done that little side quest and you're going through Raktika, there's a huge massive hunk of Auracite there in sort of the swamps. And we see somebody like lighting it up or accessing it. So is there something hidden there? Are we then going to like follow all of these? And then we get this discussion about an imprint on the soul that could last so long through lifetimes that we, it would still resonate even now. And then all these flashes
and then you get the meteor shower and stuff.
Like, it's so cool. Like every single thing is overlapped in this way that I think is really intentional. And I am so curious, like, if the Dalamud stuff is going to trigger our memories, if it's going to be like this journey.
I think, well, something else that we haven't had for a while either, right, is getting an echo, right? I mean, we've had like, the Asinian and, some of the roleplay stuff, but like a legit, like, we need to tell a story, not just like give you like this fun little bit to like, this is like, like kind of like 1.0 used to do. All these cutscenes, you're like, oh, okay, was this an echo? When did this take place? Like, it's kind of that level of like, oh, okay. So you have Shola talking about how, yeah, so like, you know, our souls, right? Our bodies aren't as old as our souls, and maybe it just took us a long time to remember something. And then they're like, hey, like the meteor showers in 1.0. And by the way, here they are. But yeah, the scene in Raktika too. Remember, we are going to get the Kitari Beast Tribe Quest 2 with this, so that's probably going to tie into there.
That's true. That's true.
So
you actually see the
I think we do.
in the
image. He's kind of in the corner. Yeah.
I've been wondering like what they're gonna do with that, because those are big obvious crystals in the middle of the swamp, right? You're like, what are these for? These aren't just pretty. These are for something.
Yeah. There's so much. This is the patch that I wanted 5.1 to be. It's just there's so much stuff in there.
They gotta spread it out, man. They gotta spread it out.
I know, but it feels like 5.1 got nothing for story progression when you look at all the stuff that they're jamming into 5.2.
Well, but then again,
we had so much stuff.
We did, but I would also say that like this patch feels almost more akin to, I mean, look, the patch cycle 50 plus gets a lot of critique for very, very serious reasons, because the feast can never happen again. Please take it out, make it go away with the rework. But the ending of those leading into Heavensward were some of the like biggest patches, like all that stuff where you're fleeing and you think all the scions are dead, and like I remember that being like my jaw dropped, you know, because it's crazy. And with the patch cycle that we got with Stormblood and stuff, there weren't really as many big moments that I really remember. There were some even that I was like, the story is fine, I guess, in these. And so I'm so excited that, I mean, we're finally seeing something again where the patch cycle is really propelling the narrative in a way that I think is everybody is just excited about. Yeah. So like 5.1 aside, I think this is a big one just for a long time in the game.
And I think that with it, the distinction too with Stormblood is important too, because you had Stormblood where, you know, we get Heavensward, right? It's like, oh, Ishgard. All right. So then they say Stormblood, and it's like, okay, well, clearly this is going to be Alamigo, which is the one other city that we've known about since 1.0, right? We're finally going to go over there. And they're like, oh, also the Far East. And we're like, oh, like that's really cool. But then when you get into the story of it, Alamigo's story kind of feels like it got cut a little short, or it wasn't as good as it maybe could have been if they had focused just on Alamigo. And so because of that, there was that weird kind of split. But I think with 5.2 now, it's, yeah, we went to the first. We weren't really expecting that. But right out the gate, they're like, we're going to start addressing questions. This is the answer questions expansion, right? And, you know, now with 5.2, with this trailer, with the meteor showers, it's just like they're really getting into it. So I can't wait. I cannot wait. She has also said too about the main scenario this time around that the cutscenes are very long. So it's like patch day. If you're doing MSQ, don't plan to do anything else because there's a lot here, which is making me wonder why they couldn't. You don't know my life,
Yoshida. I can do all of it.
Oh yeah, right. I cannot wait to do the MSQ. I'm just, you know, hold my calls, cancel my meetings. We're doing this.
What's sleep? I'm gonna order a pizza. It's fine.
Yeah. The pizza will fuel me.
The pizza place is awake. They deliver at 2 a.m., right? That's
coffee, pizza, computer, like a big pair of glasses that just keeps my eyes open. I got this. Let's go.
You gotta get the glasses from what's her name from Incredibles? The one that makes all their costumes. Like the little lady,
Edna.
like the designer with the giant Edna. Yeah, you gotta get the big Edna glasses. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm excited about
make a jug of
that.
Coffee. Yes.
I love the story. Like for me, the story is one of the biggest things that I look forward to with the patches. And even though, I mean, honestly, I'm super pumped for the new raids. I think the designs and everything look incredible. The new fights look awesome. All the stuff that we're going to cover as we go over it.
That having been said, I do want to express disappointment that we're going back on the roof again. I wasn't crazy about
a cutscene.
It was a fight. That was a fight. There's a fight that they show. You're fighting like a flock of like white birds and you're dodging stuff. That's a fight. Yeah, we're going back on the roof for a fight.
But they're very mysterious about that. because the figure, my guess is that it's our warrioress of darkness, right? Or this, sorry, I should say the emissary of darkness. That's my guess, but they really obscure her. And then we get that one little line during the trailer where it says, like, the light, it's too much for her. And then I was going, are the birds from the light and they're attacking her? But we also have to avoid them. But what is happening there? So yeah, we're on the roof again, but I feel like there is some kind of bigger reveal to that because they very much like obscure what we can see of it. And I mean, can I just say she is fierce. Those heels,
right?
Oh my god.
Sometimes you just need a pair of shoes. And
see, I think my reaction, it's part of it is that the second fight in the first chunk of Eden was my least favorite. And it looks like they're reusing an arena, which is also seems lazy. Like,
what's really funny is the caster show we had while you weren't here. All of us were like, we like the second fight the best.
I know.
and you're allowed to. It just wasn't my favorite. I think mostly in part because the first one was Eden, and then we had awesome remixes and crazy iterations of the primals for 3 and 4. That's why it's my least favorite, right?
I'm hoping we see something happen with that arena, because I agree. I mean, if we only get these 4 bosses, and especially with kind of being unique in the way that it handles raids, and that it's not like a wing, right? So there's not, you know, ads and all kinds of stuff. So really the variation that we get is the boss and the arena that the boss is in, and the mechanics of the boss.
What
so
if
it's like those 3
we have
things.
to remember? Like, we're remembering these primals to restore the earth. Maybe we have to remember that fight and do it again to restore this chick. You guys are like, what?
I don't know.
We're on the again.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but it feels very much like we keep saying how, you know, some of the job quests felt very copy paste. It almost feels like the order of the raid stuff in Eden's verse is going to be the same, right? We'll get something that we haven't seen for 1. We'll go back on the roof for 2, and then 3 and 4 are primals again, right? Which is
I hope not. I don't know if they will. I don't think we can say for sure until we like really get into it. And then while your thing did make both Fusion and I go for a second, I mean, maybe, because we do know that what we're doing. I mean, what we're doing, we're trying to like invigorate an area that has been over flooded with saturated with a type of aether, right? So yes, like she technically, if we are assuming that, you know, she has been suffused with darkness and that her aether is, you know, tipped that direction, we could possibly be trying to save her in one of those fights, or she could just be real mad at us and I mean try to punch us. But
I'm personally hoping it's like a between fight that's not really part of the Eden necessarily like 4 raid tiers, but some sort of like, I don't know, separate trashish fight that's involved in Savage.
There was a party in there though, I think, up on the roof fighting
but you could have a party working on trash that's just like part of the MSQ, just something new and different entirely, you know?
It could. I will not rule anything out because we have been rolling out a lot.
You're talking about a phased instance with a full party?
Fusion is like, there's no way.
That's not a thing that they do. That's not a thing that they do.
Didn't I just say new
content, Fusion?
No, they wouldn't do that.
No, I mean, I do think it's probably a raid fight. Especially because
I just wanted to give you hope, and all you want to do is make me feel bad.
They wouldn't do that. It doesn't make any sense to do that.
No, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some kind of shift with that, right?
Well, that said, what if it's something like, what is that thing with the Ascian in the purple place? Chrysalis. What if it's something like Chrysalis?
They would have announced. There
is a secret one. There is a secret one that they didn't tell us about.
Right, and we're gonna get into that in a little bit, but I can already tell you what it might be, and that's the thing though. Like, if we were gonna have like a secret trial like on top of the roof, they would say it here, and we would be doing it at the beginning, and it wouldn't be coming in 5.25. It would be with the rest of Eden.
Just thoughts.
Okay.
Just doesn't want me to have a fun time.
No fun allowed.
There's no fun in Final Fantasy. It is not a game for children. Only serious times.
There's no U anywhere in
It's
Final
not a game
Fantasy.
for
You have the F, you have the N. You got to make the U yourself, right? To make the fun. There you go. All right.
There's a couple of extra N's. Turn one upside down.
Oh, okay.
How did this? How did we go so far?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. So that's the trailer.
There's a lot
Somehow.
of things that happened, and we have a lot of feeling. I mean,
Yeah. So we'll just dive into the giant bullet point list that is the live letter. So we're gonna have new MSQ stuff, obviously. There's a lot of cutscenes, so grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself, some drinks, some snacks. You're gonna be sitting here watching a lot of cutscenes. We're gonna have the new Kitari tribe quests, which look like they're gonna be in Raktika. We're gonna check out the tree again, and we're gonna get a great Serpent of Ranka mount. So
is it
It's like-
great though?
It's like in a barrel.
it looks like it's in
greater
a
than the
bag.
previous one.
It's in like a bag or a pot or something, and you
It
just
looks like a
ride it
pot.
around.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Because
How do
why
you
not?
feel about it? Do you like the pot serpent?
It looks weird.
Yeah.
It looks
It's like a
weird.
Jack in
I'll
the
take it.
Box. Da-na-na-na-na.
Maybe.
Yeah, I
It
don't-
looks weird.
I don't know how I feel about it. And it was funny because for something that's so beloved, I feel like when people saw the little pot serpent, everybody kind of seemed to also go, oh.
Well, the trick is, right, because it is, like, not big. So if they want to incorporate that somehow, they then need to take that tiny thing and make it bigger so that a Rogadin can sit on it,
I mean,
and
I
thus a
guess.
pot.
I almost would have loved to them do something like where it grows up, or it has almost like it shares a
There you go.
like a model with the alt-right or something.
Yes,
And
that's
he's
what I
just like
wanted.
There
this
you
big
go.
silly boy, and he
Yes.
looks really ridiculous. That would have been a lot of fun.
We have the
I mean,
fat
it looks
chocobo,
cute,
now we
but-
need to get the fat all right.
In my head, it looks like an iteration of the Jabberwocky or something. Just
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
weird
go.
and long and stripy.
Yeah.
I would be so
Um,
into that.
So the Qatari tribe quests, these are going to focus on gathering. This is a very gathering heavy patch. Lots of gathering stuff.
It's interesting to
And-
see that so early on too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it does, I think they said you will need to have at least one gatherer up to 70 to start these, correct? So if you haven't
Yeah.
done that, you should get on it. I was a little surprised that they locked this to gathering. I feel like they did probably
Well, it's
to balance the fact that like Ishgard had a focus on crafting to start. But I mean, with our Namazu and things, it was both. So it was a little
Mhm.
strange to me that they put up another boundary for this. And I was
Well,
bummed
yeah.
because I only have a weaver up to 80. So I don't have a crafter.
Well, that's the thing, right? Any beast tribe
Or-
for each expansion, right? It starts at whatever the cap was going in, and it ends at the cap that was the end cap for that, right? So any Shadowbringers beast tribe stuff, it's going to start at 70 and take you to 80, and then that's that. And then 6.0 will take you from 80 to 90. So it's not really surprising in that regard. It's interesting that there's no crafting involved, but there's also a lot of stuff. I mean, we have all the Ishgard stuff for crafters. So this is the other side of that, I guess. And we'll get into that again here in a little bit. With all the diadem stuff, there's more stuff about Ishgardian restoration.
Do you think they'll skip Crafter Beastman entirely?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because we don't really need it, right?
No, because I mean we've got. I mean this applies to gatherers too, but we do have the Crystarium deliveries. Those are something you can do. We do have the special delivery quests now, which we did have in Stormblood. But yeah, we have all the Ishgard content, which that's it. That's the gathering or the crafting content for this patch series, right?
Yeah, I guess. I
Interesting.
guess I just, as somebody who's not really a crafter or gatherer, this kind of choice feels very strange to me because I can understand logistically why they're rebalancing it. You know, the idea that yes, we have Ishgard, yes, we have these other things, but we also know that Ishgard, at least initially, they talked about the fact that they're going to be using it as a crafter gatherer end game, right? So over time, we're supposed to be getting these portions that are going to be more difficult, that are going to be a challenge for if you yourself, have maxed these out and you're really into it and you're into the rotations and figuring things out and high quality and all that kind of stuff, right? So for me, I would rather almost see them keep more doors open to keep getting people into crafting and gathering.
Well, keep
like,
in mind too that with Diadem, they're gonna. I mean, I think they said Diadem you can access at level 17. So I mean, once you essentially learn a little bit about crafting, you'll be at 17 from a few leave quests, and then you can do Diadem, and that's some pretty big content. You level up through that if you want to start doing.
Diadem is a gatherer's island, though, right? Have they announced they're doing also crafting stuff with it?
No,
like
no.
Okay,
There's but Ishgard stuff you can do low level crafting for Ishgard.
I mean, it's true. It's very strange to me to make like this beast tribe something that is only gatherer specific, when I think like both the crafters and gatherers could use that as a way to like supplement and do story from 70 plus. I mean, there's a million ways that you can level, so that's not it's fine.
As easy as crafters are to level, I feel like gatherers are even easier.
They are really easy. Yeah. Something that, and again, I don't think we mentioned this earlier. Some of the stuff was translated from the people over at the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit Discord, so I want to give them a shout out, because we still don't have any official translation or anything from Square Enix, because why would we? Which reminds me, we actually did skip over. I am, because this is something. They used to do a really good job covering what was being presented in the live letter in more or less real time, right? They would have the forum threads.
That's true.
Now they just throw out a tweet
every
delay. Yeah, now they throw out a tweet like every 15 minutes when they show something else new, and then it takes them like another week to put out like the official digest. So at the beginning of this live letter, I didn't bold this. That's why I totally didn't notice this in the outline here. Yoshida took a few minutes and started talking about mods and third-party tools. If you are somebody that has their ear to the ground a little bit more in the community, you'll know that things have happened. People have been banned. Tools have been seen. And he's like, hey, don't do this. This is, against TOS. You will get banned. That kind of typical spiel, right? Except it was only in Japanese, and anyone that doesn't speak Japanese has no idea that he said any of this. This is like the exact kind of thing where if they were still doing live letter coverage like they used to, they would have had something about this right away. And to not have like a forum post timed, in other languages about this, I feel like that's kind of weird. Yoshida talking about the illegalities of some of the mods that people have been doing. Clearly it's a big issue, right? When you start to talk about like legalities. So to not have like something else prepped for this feels really weird. And hopefully they can do better in the future. I don't know how else to say it. Like it feels like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on this. Yeah. And then right after this, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, there are so many fan translations, and I think that they have probably decided, because all these different not official, I'm sorry, let me get that out. It's not these unofficial resources translate it. We don't need to. But I do agree with you, Fusion, in the fact that like if there are big things that are important and set a precedent in the community, and also acknowledging that your game is an international game, I mean, those are things that should 100% be translated, posted, and officially put up, because no matter what, an unofficial translation is all be that, and there may be mistakes, there may be errors.
Correct.
There might be somebody who comes in that translates it one way, but that translation is totally not exactly,
and not that we're knocking the people that do take the time to do this stuff, right? But it is not an official translation. And I want to clarify too here, Silent in the chat saying maybe something happened that no one knows about, but he was speaking generally. No, there's some stuff like people were doing mods for Reen, she's underage. That's a huge thing. People were auto placing markers in fights, which brings me to the next thing that they added here, which I think is overreaction. They are letting you now have presets for markers for fights. So you can have 5 presets saved. Before a fight, you can basically, after you set it, you can click a button and it'll drop all the markers down. You now have 8 options. There's A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3. So you can put those down before a fight. You can't place them mid-fight. So if Right. Yeah. So this is them overreacting, I think, to some of these exploits that they've seen. People are, they're like, oh, like maybe, the marker was in the wrong spot and you wiped, so now you'll be able to save it in the right spot. Yeah, but how can I set it in the exact right spot if I can't place them mid-fight? Or how can I tell people which tank is going to blow up at the end of the near raid? I can't. So what if somebody pulls early? Too bad. So I feel like this is something that yes, they are doing this, but I feel like they're going to backtrack before too long on this. They're going to realize that maybe this wasn't a great idea.
In the last tier of raiding, a lot of, at least 2 of the fights, you needed to change the markers between the first and second.
Yes.
The phase change. You needed to change them.
Well, if you have a phase change where there's downtime and an animation and you're just sitting there, right?
Yeah, if it's like I'm trying to think of a fight that does it, but there's some of those phases where if you wipe, you can restart from that point again. That will those will let you do that. But if you're in the fight, if you have engaged, you cannot change your markers at all. Is what we've heard. Yeah.
Because I mean, it is funny to me. Obviously there's a lot that goes into this. And I think that we've seen, especially with a lot of Japanese companies, there is this very close control of the titles themselves. And yet when you compare like Final Fantasy XIV to something like WoW, for example, where mods and, extensions and add-ons and all these different things have been essentially embraced into the game itself, and even sometimes become official features of the game. And there, are ways that you can automatically get whatever code and all sorts of stuff that you need to like create these tools that you can use. It does bring up this discussion in Final Fantasy where we're going, okay, so it's already basically impossible to create add-ons, but now with mods and things, yes, we get into legal issues with non-safe for work mods, but when it comes to things like using tools in a fight and trying to, tackle content that is extremely difficult and that is very mechanically based. So we're using even tools in the game to, mid-fight, put down different things so we know how to pace our strategies. It's funny because we got a good thing from this, which is that, yes, I think marker presets are great, but then we get this bad thing, which is, well, because we don't want to enforce or endorse any of these outside sources, and we don't want to create ways for people to create legal versions of these, now we're going to make it so that you just can't put down markers mid-fight.
It's so unnecessary. They gave us the solution so that people don't need to use that third-party tool anymore. Why also then add this thing to stop people from using that? You have given us the solution. There is no more problem. Please do not screw us over.
It's really interesting coming from an 11 background, right, where we had the windower, right, and all the plugins that had. And Square, it took them a while. They finally did implement some of that kind of stuff, but with 14, it's been that idea of, early on they're like, yeah, we'll do add-ons, and then they just haven't. But they've incorporated a lot of quality of life adjustments, so we don't really need them. And so, then you see, clips of people doing Alexander Ultimate, and markers are just appearing and disappearing, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And for Square Enix just to come out and say, okay, well, you can't do that mid-fight now. It's an overreaction. Like, that's it. Like, they're overreacting to this, and I think the amount of people using it nowhere near like the justification of making this kind of change. And I think this is something that
it was for Ultimate. How many people do Ultimate?
Right. Yeah. It's niche content to begin with. And so I think this is one of these things. I think before 5.3, they're going to come back in one of these sub patches and they're going to be like, this was stupid. We apologize. You can now place markers during a fight. Because it's just, it's unnecessary.
God, I hope so. It just, I'm like, what? Yeah. It's, I do like semi Band-Aid. They were like, here's 2 more markers, so maybe you have enough markers for all the markers you need the whole time. But it's not going to really work even because some of the marker placement you need to see the different phase change for before you can put them down. Or you have if like dives, like dives in original Coil. You had to look at where stuff was, and those marker placements were not always the same.
And I made a point on Twitter too. How do you make that initial marker set? Because you can't place them during the run. If you're going in blind, you're like in a fight, mid-fight, you're like, okay, that's where that happens. I'm gonna place them. Oh, I can't put a marker there. So hopefully the preset I make is correct, If not, we'll just have to wipe a million times to make sure it's right. Like, it's so
Don't get me wrong.
dumb.
I'm excited about this placement thing because
Yes.
there have been times where I'm like, what's that there? I think this is right. And then it's not, right? So,
Yeah.
This is like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing, right?
The preset is excellent, but it does come down to this discussion, right? And I think this is going to be something that they really have to try to figure out. And this is the first time they've really addressed it, like, directly, which, again, Fusion, I think, would have been great to have this, you know, really written up in official language that they want and then put somewhere so that content creators or raiders or...
And so just to clarify, too, they have put this out a month or so ago, I believe. I want to say they updated the material usage agreement, and they had put something in there about this. But that's just, you know, it's like I don't want to say it's like a ninja edition, right? But it's like, okay, we updated the thing. Did people read it? Yes, maybe not. But then to come out and have Yoshida be like, hey, this is a thing, and then not have that. I mean, I'm hoping, you know, in the next week or so when the digest comes out that they have a little bit more about this. But I have not liked the way that they've handled official passing of information from Japanese to English or to, you know, the other languages with these live letters. We're at 18 million registered accounts, and their coverage, their spreading of information to these other regions has gotten worse over time, I think. And that's weird. It should be the opposite. We should, you know, get Koji in there, do it. And I know that's a pain, and I know Loke is busy, but come on.
Yeah. We definitely need more of that communication. And it's great because, I mean, it shows that there is an awareness of these issues, and there have been real problems that come up with this. But at the same time, we also have certain portions of the community who are saying, okay, well, then we need to be able to use these things because we're doing this content and we're telling you, like, the ways to accomplish this content, at least facilitate. Being able to place markers mid-phase, doing this thing, having presets so that we don't have to use these third-party unsupported apps. And the idea of whether or not there's a parser in game is a debate that has gone on and on and on and on and on, right? And it has its pros and its cons, and I absolutely acknowledge it. But I think that this, rather than just doing things like this, where, you know, now we see this strange choice to not let you put markers down in the fight, and like that, like you said, feels like something that is kind of a knee-jerk reaction to these mods, as opposed to saying, okay, we hear that you need things, so let's see what we can do within the confines of our game to facilitate that so that you don't have to use this outside source. And like, they kind of, like you said, they kind of give us a little something, but then with this other part, it's like, okay, but I can't have 7,000 markers on the field. Everybody's gonna be super confused.
Realistically, the presets are great, right? It's nice to have, but
five is generous,
right? And
five.
I think the issue is that even with the presets, you're still gonna have people using this third-party tool that's automatically placing markers, which it is what it is. The presets are still nice, right? They're nice for groups that can use them. The cheaters are still gonna cheat. And you're not gonna. It can't be that many groups that are using this, right? And so,
if they didn't add that thing, people wouldn't need to use the cheat thing anymore.
Well, not necessarily.
If in the middle of the fight you could hit a button and it would change your markers in the game officially,
but
why set up the cheat thing?
Because it would be automatic.
Sometimes. Those things break sometimes.
They do, but it's this, you know, it's the same thing with having a program that does callouts, right? It does callouts and then places a marker. Done. Like, that's great. People that want to use that, they're going to continue to use it regardless of if they have presets or not.
Why punish the rest of us?
That's what I'm getting at, right? And the amount of people that are doing this is going to be so small, and then they decide that,
something
exactly.
Small is like, oh no, I don't remember where I'm going. Your party leader can put a marker down. You're going there for the next phase, right? Now you can't do that.
Yeah, honestly, I used to use those, as a teaching tool, right?
Yes.
So like if I was in a fight and I was teaching Sprouts, this isn't even a joke. I'm in a fight, I'm teaching Sprouts, and I'm saying to somebody in the moment, okay, so we're gonna have to move over to blank, like now we're going over here or we're doing this. And if somebody wasn't getting it, I'd be like, all right, look for A. I'm putting down a marker real quick for you. And like I just throw a marker down. Or, you know, in the moment, something pops up where, yeah, like there is something of note that people need to see. And so you're like, oh, quick, I'm gonna put this down. I'm positive that over time they will probably adjust this because I'm sure the community will give feedback.
Anger.
I know.
Like I said, I'm calling it before 5.3. They're gonna undo this, and this is like if you had to compare this to other content, this is like if they're like, oh, there's like 100 people in the game that are using crafting macros. We're not gonna let you use crafting actions and macros anymore. This is that kind of stupidity, like knee-jerk reaction. That's what this is. So this will be changed real quick. I can't imagine this lasting for long because people are going to be upset about it, or they'll find, you know, a way to handle this without, you know, killing that ease of learning and stuff for everybody else. They should. I'm surprised by this. Like, I feel like they should know better than to do this, but.
All of this goes to say, right? So the mods discussion we can honestly have multiple episodes devoted to because it is a big debate in all MMOs, not just 14. But all of this to be said, it has officially been stated multiple times now that modding the game in any way is not officially supported. And this even goes for ACT. We've seen all sorts of stuff, right? So, I mean, as Yoshi has said himself, like, use with your own discretion in many ways. But I would say be very careful if you are publicly sharing the knowledge that you are using mods in the game. And this can even go for things like, you know, Twitter accounts where you're posting G-Pose, but you have a bunch of different mods on, or you may have non-safe for work mods, or things like that. Just be aware that they have started to very clearly state that a lot of this isn't okay, and they don't like the way that it represents the game. So you may want to keep an eye out. You may want to adjust where and what you're posting. You may want to be very careful, as always, with, you know, sharing the information that you're parsing or using it to lambaste anybody, which is very much not okay, or any of those different things. Use your mods at your own discretion and for your own private use. But be aware that Square can at any time, because they feel like it, say, we said no about this and ban you for it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, this goes back to, was it a couple months ago, where they just kind of quietly banned a few DAT miners, and people were like, oh, they're using out-of-game evidence to ban. And I'm like, this isn't new. All you have to do is not break the TOS and brag about it. That's all. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's not hard. Like,
I don't think Square Enix has like active teams trolling around through Twitter and whatnot, but there are people, white knights.
They do. It's called the community team.
Yes. But there's like 6 of them. So there are groups of people not employed by SE who think it's their job to go around and be like, there's a mod in this picture, and they will report you. There are people doing this.
Yeah.
And you know how you can get around that? Don't break the TOS.
And like, honestly, as players, and we always have to remember this, we don't know what's going on behind the scene. So, I mean, if this has become a problem for Square Enix, and Yoshi P talks about this during the live letter, there is a legal ramification with some of these things that are being posted, right? Whether it's underage mods that are completely inappropriate or things like that, that can bring heat back on Square Enix in such a way that, I mean, they may start policing this stuff. We don't know. Can they control it all? No. But it's one of those things where you should always be aware of it as a player and, you know, wisely choose how you're going to share that. And especially, and I mean, because they're talking about it now.
Even if talked about before, where they kind of, like, the designers like seeing the mods. They like seeing what people want in the game, what people create for the game. But if people are going to use it for more than just clothes, it becomes a problem, like Rook was saying.
Gosh, what I would love would be to see them really officially open up some kind of channel with the creators of mods to try to, like, create a better directed outlet for this, right? Where, I mean, yes, we could have people who are modders submit the stuff that they're doing, and Square Enix could say, hey, we really like this hairstyle, let's put it in game, or there are so many games now that are doing that. I mean, even looking at like Warframe, I mean, they have specific skins and items and cosmetics and all sorts of stuff, where the creators who have created them and submitted them get a cut of the
I can't imagine. I can't see Square ever doing that, because that was
Square
the point I was going to bring up, is ownership, right? Because that gets real
Yes.
murky real quick.
And I agree that I don't think that Square is really open to that kind of relationship, but we do see these great design contests. We do see these sorts of things,
Yeah.
and we know there's a demand for it in the community. And if they could find a way to facilitate saying like, hey, let's talk about cosmetic mods. Here are the guidelines for how you can submit, or, you know, we're interested in seeing this kind of work, and give these outlets, or, you know, official add-ons with things like, yeah, what do raiders want for tools? Great, this is a great tool. We'd like to take this from you and use it. Like,
and I think what they do now is fair for facilitating that kind of need. I mean, we have we have gear design contests. That's how we got the new PvP gear, which is awesome. The pilot in the Ruby weapon, I think, is wearing that same gear set. We have furniture design contests. We have Yoshida's talked a lot about what raiders want. We've got the weird replay thing that is super limited that I don't think a lot of people use. We're getting the marker presets, which is nice. He's constantly said no to a parser, which I get, and I love his reasoning for it, with, you know, talking about harassment, and that's fine. I don't know, like, would it be nice to have even more openness or more contests or something? Yeah, maybe, but I don't feel like
it's pretty limited.
It's very limited. The amount of people who actually get like something realized from those and implemented it's pretty small. So I mean,
but this I don't think it's enough to say like, okay, well, I didn't get my armor submitted, so now I'm going to go make underage mods. Like, I don't think there's a connection to those people.
That is the huge jump there. Yes,
those are two very different things. But I think that giving, as I've seen in a lot of, you know, games or communities, I think that giving specific parameters and a way for people to create not only like redefines what is and isn't acceptable within like modding or things like that, but it also gives people a very direct outlet to more things and more options, so that they're less likely to go out and search for stuff. And of course, there's going to be people who still do those completely inappropriate things because they want the experience of whatever they want the experience of. And I mean, I'm never one to, like, you know, shame people who are engaging in appropriate like creative endeavors that might be more on the adult side. But I mean, when we get into these issues of, yes, like these illegal mods and stuff that have these big ramifications, I think we would see less people across the board making a ton of different things that then just get thrown into this huge mess of stuff, and be able to focus then more specifically on what Square Enix does or doesn't want from a mod, have ways for it to be implemented within their control in the game, and have ways for people to say like, okay, well, where are the lines with this and how will Square Enix dictate it? As opposed to it just being this huge amorphous thing that's kind of like under the table, but that they also acknowledge, you know, like it would be interesting to see them try to do something. I don't think they will specifically, but I mean, even if it was a special page of the Mog Station where there were user designs that they had
I think that, you talked a little bit about, you know, where the line is. I feel like that's pretty clear, like with some of these designs, right? It's either like showing more skin, or it's just, another type of like, shirt or something. Like the line is pretty evident. And if people don't know where the line is, that's okay. That's weird. I think I'd like to think that people have a little bit more common sense than that, but yeah, I don't know where else I was going with that, but there you go. Mods are bad. Don't break the terms of service. And if you do and you get banned, don't complain about it, because they're in their right.
Yeah. So
there you go. Moving on. We are going to get the new Chronicles of a New Era quest, The Sorrow of Warlight. This is going to be all of the Ruby weapon stuff. Talking about the Ruby weapon stuff with Gaius. I'm super excited for this quest line. I'm like, I think I was really excited about the four lords in Stormblood as an 11 player, because those were like some of the end game content we had originally, like Bayako and that stuff. But more Gaius backstory, like, yes, absolutely. Like, bring it. I can't wait. We're gonna get into. We have an official name now for the new Relic Weapon quest series. This is going to start in 5.25. It's called Save the Queen, Blades of Gunhildr. Zero Yuno in the chat said, what are your thoughts on Relic being pushed out 3 to 6 weeks after patch 5.2? This is the norm usually, so I'm okay with it. There's going to be a lot of stuff up front with this patch, so if they want to push some stuff back a little bit to spread it out.
Yeah, I kind of like that they push it back. I understand why some people don't really like it, but
they want everything at once.
Apparently we're getting a whole lot of cutscenes and whatnot, so enjoy them.
Yeah, and it is interesting because I think this one, from what we're seeing, is looking very different than what we've conceptualized for previous Relic grinds, right? So I think like the idea of, oh, hey, why aren't they releasing it with the patch so that we can get more time to grind? We're not even really sure if that's what's going to happen with this first portion, right? It looks like from what we've heard and what I've pieced together, and please feel free to weigh in, everybody, if this is, incorrect, that it's going to be specifically a quest that you're like completing. So we're going to be playing through story, and what all encompasses that, we're not sure. But I think this first leg of it is going to be, from what they've said, easily obtainable by pretty much anybody who plays it. Yeah. So it looks like right now they're sort of doing something that is going to be very different from, this long time-consuming grind that we've anticipated. So
and it's coming. Don't worry. Yeah.
I mean, yes, but at least
so what we know right now. This series of quests is going to start in 5.25, which is the same time as the secret trial. I'm going to call it right now. I think the trial is going to be against Noah Gabranth, because he's going to be tied into all this storyline. I think that's what that trial is going to be. You go in, you do some stuff at Boja, you fight him, you get the weapon. In patch 5.35, we're going to have a field instance. We're going to get back into that kind of thing. So it's coming. It's just that initial step is going to just be a little more story heavy. We skipped a part again too. We got so wound up in mods. Rewind. The Kitari Beast Tribe quest. I wanted to point this out. They mentioned that there's going to be a split in there where you have to choose a path, and so once you do that, you can't then see the other option. And I hope to God this isn't the same kind of stupid crap they pulled with Eureka. That is one of like my least favorite things, is that you have this fork in the narrative. Which is the canon choice? We don't know. Does Square? Who knows? I hope we don't have more of this in the future, because you want that canon with the lore. What actually happened? Who lives? Who died? Choice is great, but at what cost?
I mean, the thing is, though, I don't know if we've really seen any, and I have not, so I'm on the very last leg of Eureka right now, so if I have missed something huge on this, please let me know. But, especially with side content stuff, or things, I mean, we have what is sort of the main plot, which I would say is that MSQ, right? And then the idea to sort of push in these side quests, that there could be some variation. I'm almost going to contradict you, Fusion, because for me, I love player choice in games, and MMOs a lot of times really struggle with how they reconcile the idea of, agency in an RPG and how they create an experience that everybody has simultaneously. And right now, one of the biggest weaknesses for me with at least having alt characters and things in 14, right, is that you can have all the classes on one character. It's massively time consuming to go back through the story. And while the story is fantastic and having alts can be a lot of fun, especially if you want to play somewhere else or you're into RP or things like that, I mean, the fact that you are from scratch redoing literally everything, you don't get mounts, you don't get your hairstyles, you don't get the glamour that you've gotten, it's a huge time investment. So having some other incentives where it's hey, on this alt, you could pick different paths in all of this side content, I think would kind of be fun to have something a little bit different that you can explore. I mean, that's me. If
picking one option doesn't cancel out the other, then okay. Like with Eureka, it was does this character live or die? It's a hard if I pick up Encyclopedia 3, what's it going to say when I turn the page to Eureka? What actually happened? What is considered the canon choice? That's the issue that I have. Right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Ivory Jazzman in the chat. Can't you take the other path in New Game Plus or the Inn? Probably not. I don't know about Eureka.
Maybe
but I don't. Right now, Beast Tribe quests aren't part of New Game Plus. it depends on how big this fork is. Does it span several quests? Is it just one choice in a cutscene? I think it's probably going to do a few quests on it.
I'm middle of the road here. Like, I'm gonna wait to see how it is. And I don't really mind the splits. Yeah, it's kind of like, oh,
it depends on what they are.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
especially in an expansion that's so focused on answering questions, then now they're going to include like what if branches, like maybe this happened or maybe this happened. Which one did? It's different for literally everyone. Like, it
could be both.
No thanks.
It could be both. We don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind splits. It's kind of like, oh, I missed the other part, but I can also pretty easily look up what happened or ask a friend who picked the
right,
or take an alt,
but also once you make that choice, that's what happened for your character. You can't undo that.
That's okay. I feel like you need to play like Dragon Age or something where
I've played games like that. I just don't want that in my RPG. I don't hate them. I don't hate them. I've played a lot of Telltale stuff too. But I don't like that kind of storytelling in an MMO, especially when we're so focused on the lore and the history and what's happened.
I mean, it does bring up a good question, a good point about the lore, right?
Would you be okay if both of the things happened? Like, regardless of what you pick, they both actually do happen. You just only see one.
That's fine.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
He just wants it to be the real lore.
Correct. I want all the options to be canon. I don't want one choice to have the complete opposite kind of
what if,
story unfolding.
Both of those options are canon. Like the live or die thing, what if both of them come to pass? What if it's like a time wibbly wobbly?
No.
He just hates all of my ideas.
He looks very excited about this idea.
It's terrible.
Like, he loves it so much.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good idea though, right? Like, that you could, like, these paths diverge, but both of them canonically happen, but maybe like a character that I know from this path will later be like, oh hey, this thing and you were there with me, or this other thing happens, or you have a very emotional experience if you go over here. Like, that is a good way to do it, and not, I mean, as you said, make inconsistencies in the lore or things that later get retconned in a weird way. Like, if they ever decide that they are going to continue with any of the Eureka themes or characters, and then mysteriously somebody shows up who might be alive or dead. Like, it's one of those things where, I mean, some other games have dealt with that. I know ESO had its own conundrum with that recently with the character. So it does create an issue to deal with going forward. Doing it in side content, I think, is maybe less of an issue, but how they handle it will be interesting if they keep doing it, and we're seeing them do more of it, so.
I think that the issue, like, you think about Eureka, or you think, this, whatever this thing could be with the Kitari, it depends on if they go back to it, right? Which, before Shadowbringers, you would say probably not. But now we're bringing back Crystal Tower, we're bringing back Ivalice. Who knows if they're going to want to pull side story stuff and bring it into the MSQ. And if they had options like that, that's going to create an issue. Do you then make two different versions of the story? Do you add more development time based on what people decided? Do you just say, no, okay, this is canon, and then the people that picked that and experienced that lived a lie? Like, there's no easy way to do it.
Never did either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people who.
There's that option too. You don't get you don't get Gratia crying at the end of the MSQ if you didn't do it at all. I mean, there's it's a lot of stuff to consider, and I think they have better things to do with their development costs than to make branching stories off of branching stories. But speaking of Ivalice, going back here to the Blades of Gunhilder storyline, Yasumi Matsuno is actually going to be in charge of this story. He's coming back since it does tie a lot into some of this Ivalice stuff, it seems like.
Do you like details, my friend? You're gonna get them.
You're gonna get all the details.
Gabranth is back? Oh, yeah, okay, we're bringing Matsuno in. So you will have to have done the Return to Ivalice quest series in order to do the new relic. Which is it's interesting because you start off Shadowbringers, you're like, oh, this is like the Crystal Towers and stuff. Okay, we should do that. And then 2 patches later, oh, we need to also now do the other raid because they're bringing that in as well, which is really great to see, because a lot of the issues I think that I had with Heaven's Word was, okay, you have Alexander, this giant aether-sucking primal and time travel, but he's on the side and it doesn't really impact anything else that's going on anywhere in the MSQ. You have, the Warring Triad, but it's just kind of up here on this floating island, doesn't really impact anything else. And we're finally getting to the point where it's like Crystal Tower, Evil East, yeah, these are in the world. Things happened. This is affecting stuff. Eden, oh yeah, like this is going to have a big impact on the MSQ, and that's awesome, and I love that.
I adore it. I mean, it's something you just never see. And it's funny to me that people, I mean, already you can see people saying, like, oh man, I had to do the Crystal Tower to do Shadowbringers. It's so ridiculous. Oh, I have to do Evil East. And
It's
part
so
of me is like,
hard.
I know, I'm like, just go do it. It's extra content. It's fun. There's cool fights. There's amazing music. I mean, sure, is this maybe on one level a ploy to get you to do old content? Absolutely. But I think it's smart, because Final Fantasy XIV has done something with its storytelling that like almost no other game or MMO does, which is this idea of like, how can we bring this back? How can we keep this something that was, time that we invested in a narrative that can continue to pay off down the road? And how can we use this to keep building the landscape of the game? So I'm super excited they're doing it. Somebody who loves 12, I mean, having more of this world, I think is going to be fantastic. It's going to be so cool. And I'm so glad that they got Matsuno back to work on it some more. And he has such a great, I mean, I love the way that he sort of creates his worlds and lore and characters and settings and feels. So I think it's still going to have a lot of that distinctive sort of character.
Yeah.
And as always, they've got new players, and they continue to get new players. If you make an alt on any of the new servers right now, it's packed with sprouts.
Yeah.
You will not see a mentor or a non-sprout anywhere for 50 to 60 levels. So having something that, yes, forces people to go back and do old content, especially if they haven't done it, but also very helpful to all of those new people who haven't gotten there yet, because those things can get long.
It's really interesting too. The bit about Matsuno-san, this came from the translations from the subreddit Discord. I'm surprised they didn't make a bigger deal out of this. Evil East is like, hey, Matsuno's doing this. Oh, crazy! We have this year raid. Yoko Taro is in charge of it. Oh. And then also Matsuno's doing some more stuff that's kind of a continuation of the Evil East raid. But we're not really going to make a big deal out of it. Like, that seems... All right. That's weird.
Maybe they're being shy. No, don't tell everybody.
I guess. So yeah, that's going to be our weapons for Shadowbringer. So that'll start soon. I cannot wait for this. Yeah. I mean, if you look at... go back and watch the trailer again. I think Sid is going to be an MSQ, but there's a lot of kind of crazy side stuff. It looks like, I don't know if that's going to be instant stuff with the MSQ, or if it's stuff that's going to come as, a phased instance for, 5.25. But we know at some point we're going to have that, we'll have that trial. I think it would be against Gabranth. I don't know who else it would be, or, we do have that in the trailer, the cutscene with us kind of like looking like we're gonna square off with Dalamud. Okay. Could be something
my
with
own
that.
Memories again.
There's so many crazy things, so many questions that we have about Boza, just overall.
But the way they talked about it, they made it sound like they're taking some stuff from Eureka, but also they realized that Eureka in and of itself was a lot to do. Maybe not challenging, but still a lot. So they are simplifying it for us in some way or another. They weren't super specific.
They're taking the better parts of the content, which is
and I think Eureka had great parts. I mean, Eureka has a lot of promise, and there were things about it that were so cool. So I think streamlining it and driving that story more and helping people like get into it just a little bit, more organically and with a little bit more flow could be exactly what we need to really see the ideas in Eureka shine.
And they did promise us another Arsenal-esque instance thing.
Good old BA2. They're calling it.
We were wondering if we were wondering if we would get it. We are.
Good.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And it stinks that so many people couldn't do it, myself included, because just the sheer time sink was so brutal at the start of Eureka. I mean, I'm just now getting to the point where I can do it. And I think the adjustments and balance changes that they've done for Eureka have been so great. It's so much easier to get in there and just level, even though like the instances are much smaller at this point. But if we had been like that and sort of at that point when it was released, I think we would have seen so many more people getting to that Baldessian Arsenal and really realizing that it's such a cool piece of content, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did a couple of Arsenal runs. I don't think, did I get past AV? I don't think I did. But yeah, the amount of organization required for that is just insane. So if they can make it
fellowships to do it this time.
Your face. I'm sorry.
No!
Your face.
The greatest blow.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
Terrible thing is that dark, terrible thing you told us, Fusion. I think, is this what you're going to talk about later? The thing that they did with the fellowships?
Yes. We'll get into that later. That's under miscellaneous.
It's ruined my.
All right. We've got the new dungeon, Nemesis Niter. We talked about that a little bit. We're gonna have 3 new trials with the patch. So we'll have the Cinder Drift, which is going to be the fight against Ruby weapon. We'll have the extreme version of that as well. And then with 5.25, we're going to get a trial, which sounds like it's going to tie into the relic weapon. I think it's Gabronth. I think it's going to be Gabronth.
I could see it being something that comes out of that, right? I mean, there's a ton of possibilities right now, even being, you know, further weapons or things. But I think that they will probably keep the weapons to like a set, because that makes sense.
Weapons are the trial series this time around, I think. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it would make sense for it to be some sort of notable boss, or even just a Garlean, or I mean, gosh, it could even be some kind of further extension of the
Cape Westwind Extreme.
Cape Westwind Extreme would be amazing.
It could be Xenos. We did see a little bit of that, but again, you think about, we're gonna have all the MSQ right at when this thing goes live on the 18th. So it wouldn't be against Xenos, it would be with the side content, which again goes back to the weapon stuff and maybe Gabronth. I don't know. So if not Gabronth, it's definitely tied to the new weapons. Like it's got to be. Yeah. We've got the new raid Eden's Verse and Eden's Verse Savage. The biggest question is, okay, what primals are we going to face, and how has our mind warped them this time? So for Ramuh, this one's interesting. It's Ixion and Ramuh, and maybe a little bit of like Ralger.
Pegasus Centaur!
How do you feel?
I love this.
I'm gonna pitch something to all of you. How do you feel about like a very, very attractive older gentleman who is also an angel, who's also a centaur, who is also Lord of Lightning?
I think it's a really cool mix of ideas. I will say, though, I miss the big beard. He has a beard, but the beard does not cover up the majority of his person, and that's a little bit of a bummer for me.
Boy needed a hair trim. He needed to take care of that facial hair. It's out of control in his original design.
I think
you can hide your entire party in that beard. Now it's true.
And that could have been a mechanic. You're like, I remember there was a lightning pony, and there was this dude with a huge beard that did lightning stuff. It should have just been Ixion with a huge beard.
Look, I love this design. I
like it. I like it too. I like it too. I think it's really cool. If I had a choice, I would also have liked to have seen the return of the beard, is all I'm saying.
That's fair.
I mean, okay, I will raise you this. I have seen people bring up that the beard is not completely lost, because we do have the big fluffy Ixion tail on the back. So it's
I just wanted him to lash out with his beard, and you have to do an active time event to like get out of the beard.
I just have to say that I was not that excited about rehashing more of the primals again. And there's really no reason for that, because my favorite part of any Final Fantasy game is always the summons, like 100%. So I should have been happy to see them all reimagined.
Yeah.
I just think that from the first set of the raid, I liked those fights. I had a lot of fun with the first Eden, but I didn't like love a lot of the reimaginings. And then we got the new ones for this tier, and I was like, everybody looking so fine. Everybody looking so good. I cannot wait to go in there and get my butt kicked by them. Like, I just
want to say real quick in the chat here, Sweetly, half the team gets lost in the beard and the other half have to cut the beard to get them out. That's the kind of stuff I wanted to see with a Ramuh fight.
What's your favorite content again? Is it Hildebrandt? Did you?
I mean, I like Hildebrandt.
I mean,
but yeah,
how amazing would it have been if there was actually like a scene transition where you have to do that in this new version of the fight, but then when the beard comes off, you realize that somewhere underneath the robe and beard, he's been hiding a centaur body, and he's just incredibly fly looking. Like, that would have been really good.
I only point out because it's such silly content, and you're like, let's have a beard fight, which would also be silly content.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
But everybody looks really good. Garuda probably looks the most similar, which I was a little disappointed about. Like, it's more wings. That's pretty much
yeah. Right. Yeah, I was gonna say we have this crazy design for Ramuh, and then you get to Ifrit and Garuda, which is it's both of them in the same fight. We weren't sure if they'd be separate. These are together, which is cool. It's something new, right? You'll have maybe two at the same time, but it's that play off of the sisters, right, for Garuda, right? That's why there's two at the same time. But the designs for them, they don't seem terribly reinvented at all.
This particular picture that you picked, I'm like leaning in real close. I'm like,
this is the official.
In this particular picture that you happen to pick, I'm leaning in real close, looking at Ifrit's chest, like, are those pecs or is that a lady?
No, I mean, it might pecs. I mean, I think
it could be either one, and it would make sense, right? If it's a male, sisters, all right, or if Ifrit was a male. If not, it's the sister thing, right? But no,
I do think that Ifrit looks good. Garuda looks very similar. I do think they could have pushed it further, right? Like, my assumption is that part of why they have kept them fairly slim and humanoid is because we're fighting both of them.
Yeah.
Versus like.
Well, and we also haven't seen what they do yet, right? They might. Right. Turn into a motorcycle or something for all we know, right?
Yeah. If I get a beard and then just become old Ramuh, and then you get stuck in the beard and you have to cut it off, and then you go straight into the next fight. Look, there's a lot of things that we don't know about this yet, but I am excited to see them both together. I do like the reworks. I think Garuda could have been noticeably different, but she probably looks the most similar. But Ramuh was a big, old, pleasant centaur surprise for me.
Yeah. And I love the little bit of the music we got from that too. That remix of that Ramuh theme. It's so good, and I'm really curious now what they're gonna do with this Ifrit Garuda fight, because Ifrit, right, was the only original primal that didn't have any kind of vocals. But they've also done some really crazy stuff with Garuda when they've performed it live. So,
and what I love about this,
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too, honestly. And I think one of my biggest fears was that we talked about this a little bit previously, that like with this next tier, I really wanted to see some of those original fights, right? And we know that at least here in the first part, we had the first two, and then we had obviously the two reimaginings. So we had the Leviathan and Titan. And I was kind of worried that here in this next set, we were going to get like 3 of the primals. People were, guessing that maybe there were going to be even more of them. So I like that they are kind of combining some of those iconic primals together so that it maybe will make room like for our later set to, have some more original bosses, or for us to have some fun with these other 2 fights, as opposed to like, just really rehashing all of the old primals through all the rest of the tier. I'm excited to see them sort of combine them and change that up.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to see what they do with them. What do you think will be the last fight for this leg of Eden? Is it going to be Ramuh? Is it going to be Ifrit Garuda? Is it going to be the bird thing? Or is it going to be the fight we haven't seen yet?
My hope is that it's the fight we haven't seen. That's what I'm hoping, that they like reverse the order here. So maybe we start with the primals and then end with a more epic final fight. Because I loved Titan as the finale, but personally, I almost wish that it had been reversed, you know, and that we had our first fight last.
Well, and that was the thing too, right? When it came out, everyone's like, "Oh, they're going to reverse it for Savage." Yeah. Okay. But no.
But I mean, yeah, I would love to see that. I think that'd be really cool.
I like kind of thinking of it as one big long ass thing. So it's kind of like Eden, and then what's her face's dude carrying her around, and then a bunch of primals, and then maybe 1 or 2 extra fights. I don't think that's what they're gonna do, just from what we've even seen in this trailer. But that's how kind of I was thinking about it.
Yeah,
Guess we're
I'm really curious. I'm really curious what we're gonna see. I mean, because we've speculated about that rooftop fight. I think that's gonna be one of the fights. We've got Remu, we've got Ifrit and Gerudo, so that's one more. Is it going to be Gaia? Is it going to be something else? I'm really curious to see what that other fight's going to be.
I'm really surprised they showed us that detailed imagery of the primals at all.
I was a little surprised.
Well, now that we're away from the first, like that first version of Eden, because before we had no idea what to expect, and we get in and we're just like,
surprise, but
now we know it's coming, but there's still that one question mark. Yeah. So.
And I think that's also, I see in chat people mentioning that usually if they don't show something, that may be sort of the culmination. And I'm like holding out for that, because I think it would be really fantastic to have a huge surprise with that last fight. And we've seen the other 3. So that would be really cool.
And I feel like with this, I mean, this could be the end of the primals, right? I mean, we've got Earth, we've got water, we've got
Shiva left. Everybody
lightning.
thinks it's Shiva.
But we have water already.
But it's not ice.
Do we need ice? Did
Levi crush me beneath his heel and then like shatter the arena? No. So I need that drama in my life. I need a savage version of
just these
stepped on by Shiva.
Just take that weird giant ass ad phase from Titania and just replace it with heels. Just stomping on the.
Yes. That would be my literal dream, Fusion.
She's just splits into Eden, and everybody gets
everybody gets stepped on, and then we wouldn't even have to continue doing the Eden raid set. We could be like,
we'll just mix Shiva with Yotsuyu and wearing Gaia's heels, and we're done. There you go. That's the raid.
Please do not get my hopes up for this, because now I'm gonna be crushed.
So maybe the 4th is Shiva. Maybe it might be another original thing with Eden, kind of like how we had the 2 for the first thing, and then we had 2 primals. So we'll have 2 primals in this. It depends on how kind of 2 formula they want to make it.
As long as she's not a motorcycle, I don't care.
I mean, there's precedent for it in 13.
I know.
Zen's like, why do you think I have said this?
But there's no Titan go-kart precedent, so I who knows? Shiva could be boogie boarding. Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
I would not be sad. It's tough because I would love to see another Shiva fight, because I do think she's amazing. But I mean, I wouldn't be sad if we just get more original stuff, or we get to see some unique things like some savage, almost like light wardens, right? Because I love those designs. Or if there's something else out in the waste that we just don't know about. I mean, that would be really
TV
cool.
is talking about Bahamut fight. I would love that.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yes.
That would be... There's a lot
that would be interesting, but I don't know how that would tie into Eden. Right? That feels like
I don't even care. I just want to do it.
Because it's about the elements, right? That's the thing with the primals with Eden. It's the elements that you need.
Now I do see this would be cool, right? So
he just comes down, he just gives you a hug,
and then you kill him.
You kill him. I mean, if we're gonna put a whole bunch of stuff together for Ramu,
light and dark.
I do see here in chat the idea of combining some of the ice things or things around Shiva. It would be super cool if we got a fight that maybe had like Hraesvelgr, Shiva, and Fenrir in it. Like some kind of wombo combo of those
dragon Shiva.
Yes. Like that would be so cool. Or like
I could get behind that.
Get some Nidhogg back in there.
Yeah, it would be really neat. That would be.
They could do.
Jordan.
See
Get some
now
in there for you.
Now I just want a Dragon Shiva that mixes in like Dragon Song with Oblivion.
Be very good.
That'd be cool.
Okay,
I would
hear me
like
out
that.
on this one. How about a Good King Moggle Mog re-envisioning, where you load into it and it's the final
But
fight
what-
here, and hold on, listen to me.
Okay.
This is important. This is crucial. You load into the arena. You
can't even get through it.
Hold on, it's so good. You have an hour-long timer. And to clear the fight, you have to sit in there listening to a non-toggleable version of that theme song for an
God.
hour without leaving the instance. There's no mechanics.
That's a waste of my time. I thought you were gonna say, because it is a fight that has approximately 8 things you have to murder. So you load in, and all of the Muggles have Shiva boots on, and they all step on your head.
Whoa, hold on. Okay.
It's just
Then you
Muggles
have
with
now
like
stepped
really
this up.
long leggings, like, and just giant. Yeah, they're just doing the kick thing. They all come together. Yeah, I mean, if we need the Kupo element, restored, then maybe. If that's a thing, maybe
element.
the Kupo element. I think at this point though, like
Light and
like
dark,
Shiva.
light and dark.
Yeah, we'll get Shiva.
We don't
that
need
might
light.
be that we might be another 6 months out from Shiva though for Eden. It depends on if they want to finish the elemental stuff and then do some more kind of Eden specific story stuff, or if they're gonna really just carry the elements out into the last leg of stuff. We'll probably have.
I feel
one
like we need
element in
a
the
greater
third
fight.
leg.
We just do, right?
Oh yes. See, I'm so sad that Alino isn't here today. Maybe Gaia is like a version of Ultimecia. Sure.
She's a sorceress of some kind, yes.
Yeah, or she's being possessed by Ultimecia. Yeah, sure. All right. Who knows? But yeah, so I can't. I'm looking forward
She does
to.
have like a Renoa-esque duster almost, right? Or am I crazy? It's
Yeah, she kinda
blatantly
does.
obvious, but she's got
Yeah.
a duster.
All right.
Yeah. And if they want to keep getting some like 8 tie-ins in there, yeah, I could see it.
Need it.
We'll just have to wait and see. All right, next up, we still have a lot to talk about. Ishgardian Restoration update. This is coming with patch 5.21, so you can get into Eden and get your MSQ done right away, and then give it another week, and you'll have more Ishgardian Restoration. There will be more steps this time, so if you weren't able to participate in this stuff before, don't worry, because you'll be able to this time. They're saying that you can... Theoretically. They are saying that starting around level 17, you'll be able to gather in the diadem, where they showed off a Dommel mount. So, guess it can fly, because flying Dommels. And so this was interesting. So, it's gathering. You can skyfish, they said. As you gather, you build up a thing that kind of looks like the limit break bar. And then, with each charge, you get a rocket launcher that you can use to kill the monsters in the area, which then drop a bunch of materials. So, rocket launchers.
Sounds good to me. That sounds like the way that I want to learn how to level gathering and get into it.
They wouldn't give us Hamlet after 1.0, but we got rocket launchers for
This sounds
botanists.
better, and also better than
This
throwing
is-
rocks. This is like
Yeah.
a crazy laser air bazooka, and I love it.
I remember throwing rocks on my botanist.
I mean,
Yeah,
correct me
it's
if I'm wrong.
interesting.
Wasn't there something similar in original Diadem? I did not do
No.
the original Diadem.
No,
There
so
wasn't?
original Diadem, it was just a big open area where you would do fates and get ethereal gear, which was randomized gear that also had randomized glamours. And then they redid it, and they added a group. I don't think it was classified as a fate, but it was like a big boss thing that you could trigger, and then everyone would have to go in. And
Nobody
at the
did it.
time, well, it was hard because it was like Baldessian Arsenal levels of organization, right? If you pull one thing, then you're gonna wipe the group. But it did drop what was at the time the highest eye level weapon, but
For
the
like
stats
a
were
patch.
randomized. But the stats were randomized.
Yes.
So it's always just been kind of a okay kind of weird piece of content that didn't really make any sense, and that's why it's gone through what will be now the 3rd revision. But yeah, it looks better now, hopefully, because it's just for gathering. And that's something that people used it for anyway already, was just to go up and gather stuff. So just kind of emphasizing that and giving you rocket launchers. I think hopefully this 3rd time will be okay.
So ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. It's just he's just up there and it pulls out a rocket launch. And you're like, what? Okay.
I hope it doesn't take long to charge. I hope you can use it fairly often.
Now all the machinists are like, but I want that.
Sorry,
well, I mean, hey,
level 90,
asset
level
will be
90
in game at this point, so they can just reuse it.
There you go. Level 90, we'll get the botanist rocket launcher. They also showed a little bit of the Koopa of Fortune kind of scratch tickets that you'll be able to get, where you'll be able to win a bunch of different rewards. One of them they showed off was the Eat Bread emote. If you've ever wanted to eat bread
without having to have bread,
now you can, which pairs nicely this past week here on the Mog Station. There's the toast emote, so now you can drink and eat bread, but you got to pay for it.
Can't believe it's $7. Can't believe it's $7.
It's ridiculous, and it's annoying too, right? Because clearly these were developed at the same time, right, to be like used in tandem with one another. But no, you have to buy one of them because, of course, you do, because it's the Mog Station,
the better one, in my opinion, as well.
I agree. Yeah. So that's a little frustrating, but it is what it is. We're also going to be getting expert recipes with the patch as well. And they also, in this, they said you'll be able to kind of get like practice materials to kind of get a feel for how they work and what the difficulty is. So that way you don't waste expensive materials, which is making me think of like 1.0 Leave quests. And they're like, hey, can you make me these things? Here's all the stuff to make it.
And the crafting quests last time as well.
Yeah.
In Stormblend.
Those are so good. There is also going to be the ranking system. So rankings will take place for 10 days, starting with the release of patch 5.21. And the top ranked players will receive special titles.
Go get your materials together so you're ready.
Yeah, you got to hit the ground running once that patch comes out if you want a title. There will be crafting system updates. They will be removing some abilities. It sounds like they haven't told us what. So some things will change. We are going to be getting the Skysteel tools starting with patch 5.25. It's not the battle classes that are getting relics. It's everybody. You'll be able to get primary tools for your crafters that can be upgraded over multiple patches. You'll start the quest in the broom, and then craft or gather stuff to enhance the tools as time goes on. So,
like those original ones. I don't know how I feel. I hope it's not exactly like the original ones, because those were just kind of annoying in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they do with that.
Make it fun.
There are materia system changes. That's it. That's the bullet point. I don't know what those changes are. They showed something real quick. I didn't get it.
I know them. Oh my gosh. Look at me go. This one, I know at least part of it is that they are doing it so that rather than like when you're trying to convert gear or like take apart gear, you can just like remove that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Remove it, and then it'll like reset the spirit bond level. So you can just take it,
because they changed
the spirit bond
you get the
level.
materia without destroying the piece, so that if you would like to keep the piece or turn the piece in, or I guess even desynth it, you can also do that as well as get the materia out of it. But I don't think you can then spirit bond it again. I don't think you can like use the same one over and over again. Not confirmed. I think they mentioned that though.
Okay. Fishing updates, because man, more stuff for gatherers. Ocean fishing is on the way.
Cute. I think this looks so cute.
Yeah, so this is content exclusive to fishers, which can supposedly be done at level 1. So if you're like, I haven't touched fishing, I'm curious about this new content, you're good. You're good to go. You can jump right in.
I want to get in a boat.
You will be able to board a ship at specified times and enjoy fishing on the high seas, you will receive experience and scripts based on the fish that you catch. And if you meet certain conditions, passengers may discover a spectral current and have a chance for a big haul.
We've talked about this before, about how since 1.0 they've had this ferry and a route for it and whatever. Why has it not come back? And here it is!
Yep.
Please.
And you can fish on it.
This will be so fun. And I like, too, that it's taking this, like, class that has sort of been its own weird little thing and giving it some kind of fun, new, interactive purpose. And the fact that you can go and, like, hang out with people, and that's what people always used to say, right? When they would take they loved it, or when you would sort of travel, because you could just sort of talk with people and have this chill time. And fishing is pretty much exactly that, from what I hear, because I haven't done any fishing in real life. But you sit, you talk, you chat, you have fun. And I think that'll be a really nice way to sort of give it something additional that's unique and that brings people together. And I'm so glad it can be done at level 1, because then you can really get in on it and enjoy it from the start.
Yeah, and I think too, for the fishing updates, I think I might be wrong, but I think what they said is you're not going to have to watch the poll anymore to hit to bring it up at a certain time. I think that's part of it. Which
like that.
Yeah, that feels a little weird. I feel like it opens the door for more
bots.
Yeah, like you don't have to pay as much attention anymore. It's easier to Netflix and fish, I guess, now.
It was easy already, though. Like, all you do is like peripheral. Oh, the light's bouncing. All right, button.
Done. Yeah. So that is that. Miscellaneous.
I was going to say with that, because I don't think it was added. I think some of the rewards and things for that as well, they're adding in, aren't they, like mounted fish pictures or kind of things for the walls?
Yeah, the pictures from the fishing logs you'll be able to get as paintings or something now to hang up in your house.
It looks like the pictures in the fishing logs, like Rook was saying.
Yeah.
It's like a little black and white print. So they're like, we didn't really want to implement all this different fish stuff, but you can have pictures of them that we already have made.
That's pretty fun. A little something that can share the ones that
especially if you really like fishing, if you can, or if you're an RPer and you consider your character a fisherman, there you go, buddy.
Yep, that's for you. Getting into miscellaneous updates now. Elegant tombstones of allegory will be added. This is typical. Every couple patches they get rid of one tombstone, bring in another. There's going to be new Game Plus chapters. I believe these are for the 24-man raid series, I think they said. There will be a rank increase for free companies. I've seen up to 30.
That's what I saw too.
Huge.
I was like, what?
That's
They never
huge.
have to update it ever again.
And it will increase your free company chest space.
I hope that they expand over. It's so tough. We've been talking about the free company debacle in some of our episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where I was so excited to see this, and I'm really glad. Yes, please give us more FC chest space. I'm hoping that maybe with some of those ranks or down the road, if they still have their eye on this, we might see some more things added for those ranks with FCs, or just maybe this is just a little indicator that they still have their eyes.
It only goes
on it.
up. It doesn't go up very high right now. Right? It's like, what, 8 or something?
8.
I want to say.
Rank 8, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and to go to 30, like, there's what's the in between there? Then is it just you can buy new stuff with from those there's like the FC credits you get. I'm really curious to see if it's actually 30. That seems huge. So there's something else planned that they're not talking about yet. For maybe free company alliance stuff. I think they've mentioned is something they're still thinking about.
I hope it's stuff like the rates for your airships and your submarines, like the gathering rates, just automatically get buffed or something like that. Because I still send those guys out trying to get materials for candles or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. Or even if, like, at higher ranks, you could have maybe even more actions toggled on, or, I mean, there's just
higher
you could
tier
do with
actions.
Higher tier,
so you don't have to do the Aether wheel thingy. I don't know how many people actually do those. They're not that worth it.
No, they're kind of a weird thing. And speaking of weird things within the social elements of this game. I'm gonna skip ahead real quick since we're on FCs already. There's an update for fellowships, and I started to read this, and I was like,
I gotta leave. I'm really afraid.
I'm like, they figured it out. Fellowships can now be viewed in the companion app.
I hate it.
I'm sorry.
I hate it.
All you had to do, Square, all you had to do was make it so we can search by name. That's the only update we needed to make these even a fraction of making it worthwhile. But no, you decide to add it to the companion app that nobody uses. Thank you. Thank you.
As Fusion has said here, the big note on this is that it's been added to the companion app, or it will be added to the companion app, but you still cannot search. You can't search. You can't look for a name of a fellowship. You can't search them alphabetically. You can't do any of the things that are needed for basic functionality of locating or finding specified groups. I have no words, only unhappy raptor noises. I just can't.
I was worried about you.
Look, I wasn't expecting fellowships to become the great thorn.
I was so excited when I started to read this bullet point during the live letter, because I was like, they're finally gonna address this. No. Just nope. Not even close. Thanks.
Sorry, friend.
All right.
I mean,
I will continue to not care about fellowships.
It would be so good. It would be so good. We've talked about it. We don't have to rehash it all the way. But I mean, it just would be so good if, yes, they just bundled it into FCs. They just made it something where you could have a message board in game. You could leave messages back and forth. There were more message capacities. You could search them by interest groups. Or, I mean, if they really want them to be these, like, cross-world fellowship, I mean, like, there's just so many problems with the way it's set up right now for finding one, getting involved in one. You can't even communicate back and forth as if it were a cross-world link shell. Like, it doesn't even have that functionality. So it's, even if you join one, you might still have to go join and get an invite for another cross-world link shell when you are online and the other person is online, because you can't send out the invites otherwise. Like, it's just
the social systems in this game are like, it's like they're like red mages. Like, they don't do anything particularly well, but they're there and kind of like allow people to communicate.
Burn, friend. Red mages are getting an update, by the way.
Ouch!
Yeah, right. Red mages are getting buffed.
You say that to a red mage's face after their damage is so high that they can blow you out of this universe.
Well, traditional red mage, not 14 DPS red mage. Traditional red mage, right? Can do a lot of things, master of none, right? That's what these are. FC, you want a house, you want some subs, you got that, and a way to talk. Crossworld Link Shell, you got a way to talk. Fellowships, you have a way to not talk. Yeah,
but
they
you're
need
all
to
in there together,
redo this.
sharing an interest.
Fellowships is the new Diadem 1.0.
All right, I think what gets me about fellowships, it's so silly, right? This is such an inconsequential thing. It's never going to really affect your gameplay. It is not content. It's not, but it is this thing that from a team that, I mean, in so many ways does so many things exceptionally well. To have this thing come out that has such just
like, what is it for?
Oversight.
What gap is this supposed to fill?
It's so incredibly flawed in a way that is mind-boggling to me. Like, it just blows my mind. So the fact that, I mean, again, like, this hasn't been addressed in some kind of way, but they're adding it to the companion app. I'm like, but you're not adding real-time communication, but you're not adding, a way to not have
it's
to
so weird.
Post a recruitment, but you can't also search it, but you can't, like, it's just these weird little design issues that are so frustrating.
We'll need to workshop this into a question if we see Yoshida at PAX.
I do have one good thing to say about fellowships.
Okay.
At least they don't keep you from putting markers down mid-fight.
Oh.
Why do fellowships bring out the worst in
from
us?
the team that brought you fellowships? Comes not being able to place markers mid-fight.
I hate us all so much right now.
But if you want, You can search if there's a UI option to search for the marker that you're looking for.
I mean, but it's true though. It's like these weird solutions for problems that aren't solutions at all, and that hinder.
Well,
people
here's
doing
the
what they
here's the
wanna
thing,
do.
right? Like with fellowships, what was the problem? What need did they see? And they're like,
Oh,
yeah, let's make
I can
fellowships.
answer that.
I feel
The
like
problem is that free companies, we now have a cross-world system, but free companies are not cross-world, and we have a bunch of groups that want to communicate.
Free companies can become cross-world at rank 20?
See, that's the thing. I think that is
that's
what
something
needs
they
to
should
happen.
just give us, though.
Yes.
That is
Correct.
Not something
Correct. You're absolutely yes.
But I mean, that is the issue, right? It's like these weird things to address problems that are band-aids that somebody opened before they actually gave you the band-aid and like dropped on the ground in some dirt, then gave you to patch your boo-boo.
And they just brush it off. They're like, this will be fine.
Is who made the housing preview system? Because they need to make more things. That's so beautiful. It's so good. It has a search function built in. If you don't know what the thing is called, sorry, but it also has categories. It's beautiful and lovely.
Yeah, that would be so great. But I think that this is something that we need to see. I mean, we need to see all of this stuff just added in. Like, why we already covered it, but like, why can't you just be in a cross-world free company, have those buffs go with you no matter where you are? Because now, you go over to visit another world and you just lose your free company buffs, which is infuriating. Like, why can't you be in this and communicate cross-world? Why can't you invite people to the company or to the whatever communications you have without them having to like be online? Why can't you search for free companies that are relevant to your interests and maybe even be in multiple free companies? Why can't, like, it's all these things that other MMOs have like realized and adapted, but because of some of the unique weirdness and holdovers and programming things and stuff that they're still trying to grow in 14, we just don't have.
Its predecessor has some of them.
An 18-year-old MMO makes it easier to find a group than Final Fantasy 14. Just let that sit in a little bit.
So yeah, it's very strange to me. It's one of those things that I wish, yes, you could just as a player be like, hey, I love your game and it's so good, but what
I feel like we have this extra level of judgment because the things that this game does well, it does so well.
Yes.
And then there's this and it's like, what?
That's the thing, right? We're spoiled. They do so many really great things, and then every so often, there's like that eyebrow raiser. And you're like, the hell are they thinking?
Yeah, it's very weird. It's very weird. So I hope that we see this changed and addressed, and maybe yes, with this cap, with this new level cap and stuff for FC ranks, like
things will be adjusted at some point. It could be 5.3, and they're like, hey, free company alliances are now a thing. Or maybe it's something that they're looking at long term for 6.0. They're talking about stuff behind the scenes. It's just a matter of how they want them to work together. Because now it's weird.
Yeah, it's a bunch of weird stuff.
Yes. It's very likely that we will get nothing that has anything to do with this rank 30 for many, many patches. And then but because they're letting us level now, when they finally implement this stuff, people will actually just get it immediately because you'll already be that rank. So it's kind of nice that they're giving us a head start, even though we don't know what the heck it's for.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think you're exactly right with that. Anyway, getting away from fellowships. It was a great trilogy, not a great social implementation for 14. We'll have a new course for Leap of Faith. We're going to go to the floating city of Nim out there in Lenosia.
I love this. I don't really like
jump around the little floating bits.
I like being able to see more of this area because it's always been one of the most.
It's a cool little area. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how when they were in the puzzle, they looked down and it was that part of the map.
Yeah.
Not just smoke or whatever. It's
they copy paste it and then they add the jumping stuff and it's still a different zone and
Remind me, Leap of Faith is still directly tied because I have not done this and I'm gonna because I'm terrible at jump puzzles and I never beat the Kugane jump.
I'm not
tower.
great. Oh,
Never made it.
I've never gotten to the top of that damn tower. I'm terrible with that.
It's still tied
Yeah.
to Gold Saucer, right? And it is on a
Yeah.
timer, so like you have to go to the Gold Saucer and it has to pop up.
It's another gate. You go into the Gold Saucer, it's a gate, and then it'll take you to, you know, one of
Magical
whatever areas.
teleportation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they're still adding stuff to Gold Saucer. I think it would be super fun if they also had some kind of like optional, like if you're somewhere relevant, you could like instance into one of these JPs and just do it, because I think that would be kind of fun as like a way just to enjoy it.
Yeah, practice.
I don't always. Yeah, I mean, I just don't always spend an insane amount of time in the Gold Saucer. So
well,
for me, like
the plus side is that stuff is on a timer. You do know when they're gonna pop. So
you could
if
just go when they're doing it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, you just don't know which gate is gonna pop up. Is all.
Yeah.
But you know, with the addition of this, they're gonna throw it into rotation to make sure that one pops up more frequently. So
yeah,
you're like dancing over there
for the next part.
Oh, okay. I was like, somebody likes the Gold Saucer. So years and years and years ago, at the Frankfurt Fan Fest, Yoshida said that they were going to add umbrellas into the game. He talked about them maybe being a mount, and you could fly around like Mary Poppins. So we have good news and not so good news. We are getting umbrellas added to the game. They are coming with the next patch, but they are not mounts. Instead, they're just some weird little special action toggle thing.
But you can use them while you're on a mount.
Can you?
You can.
Oh,
I missed that.
I missed that.
I saw that on Mog's translation.
Yeah,
That's
so there you go.
fun. I mean, I like it. I like anything that lets me just be and have a fun time. You know,
It's one of those things. Like it's so unnecessary, but you know you're gonna see people walking around with umbrellas anyway.
Yeah, and
Well,
I mean,
they talk about how the team who was implementing it had to figure out how to have the rain not hit you in the head, but hit you in the feet.
I love that.
So it's not
Such a
like when you're standing.
Yeah.
It's like it's not when you're standing under a ledge and you're just completely dry, because I mean, in real life, when you're walking around, you're dry and your feet are totally wet under an umbrella.
I mean, it's the exact same thing that made it so that the first time I ever went into like Kurthis, I went, oh, I need to put a coat on my little body. And this is before I was even actively RPing again in the game. I was like, oh, my little body's so cold, so I put a coat on, you know? You even see it in like Dad of Light. You see his dad go in and he's like, oh, my character is cold. I think we all have these reactions because these characters are avatars in a world. And so there are these moments, whether or not you RP, where you are standing someplace and it starts pouring and this thought like crosses your mind, or you're like, oh no, my little friend is getting wet. Like my character is getting doused and I'm just standing here. So
it's funny you mentioned that one. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, while it's completely inconsequential and affects nothing, there is still something really fun about knowing that like the way that you exist in the digital space can feel even a little bit more realistic.
It's cute. It's real cute.
It's real cute.
I was gonna say, it's funny you mentioned the cold thing. I was doing the dance request on an alt, and when you go to Ishgard with the dancer in the dancer AF, she's like, "It is so cold. How do you deal with this?"
Yeah.
So they add details like that in all of the time.
Yeah,
I love it.
The secret is I'm always cold.
The answers were something like, "You get used to it," or I'm very cold also.
Yeah. All right. So that is it for the bulk of the live letter. We did have one announcement. Well, we had a few announcements. A lot of it's pertaining to JP only, unfortunately. They're doing a collab for Ilmeg themed hotels. You get a beaver mug. Primals are coming back for I think 1 or 2 shows, just a real quick thing. And we have dates and locations for FanFest. So this has been a big question mark that we've been having for a while. NA will be first again, which is all right. Hope maybe we'll get a 3-job expansion and not just like, here's Beast Tamer, it's a limited job.
I mean, I'm gonna okay.
Yoshida walks onto the stage with a sheep.
I'm gonna count this on one hand because, look, I'm so excited that it's like this year and it's coming up. I can't wait to go to it, and I'm so excited to see everybody, and it's gonna be great. Yes, I do very much hope that they give us a little something more, because in the past, it has usually been the case that they try to ramp up the hype between the three, and unfortunately, the first one just does not really, like, we get usually maybe like one thing that is kind of like a
so
and then not as much info about others.
The argument, right, is we get the reveal, right? What's it called? Where's the teaser? And it's not like that's not information.
Yeah.
But, you know, especially you look at like Shadowbringers, right? It's like, all right, here's this thing. And
the first iteration of it too, though, like as it goes along, it gets a little bit better over time.
Right, and they, you know, it's like, oh, we're taking the fight to Garlemald and all this stuff, and then 2 FanFests later, but we're not actually going to Garlemald. Wait, what? What was that whole presentation you gave us in Vegas? You know, it's that thing of they got to be real careful how they set expectations, and we saw this with, you know, the whole Hrothgar Vera thing that was handled terribly. But yeah, so NA is first. Hopefully we get something that's not a limited job reveal, like an actual job, not a t-shirt. Actually, like, hey, here's chemist or something. Like that's really what I want from a fan fest.
I don't foresee it.
Yeah, if they stick to tradition, I don't see it either.
It is in San Diego, though. We have a bigger venue.
Yes. So it is going to be at the San Diego Convention Center, November 6th and the 7th. So not Vegas, which, you know, a lot of people were like, if they needed a bigger venue, and we talked about this a little bit, they would probably go into California. I would have figured LA, Anaheim. You look at the dates, though, that might be the same weekend as BlizzCon. So if you enjoy Warcraft and 14, sorry,
rent a car,
maybe
drive 3 hours away.
There you go. Take the train. I hear the train is nice. But yeah, so that's rough timing wise. But again, you know, that's a place they could find with the space they needed, and that's the time that they had. So that's when we're doing it.
And I mean, it's a beautiful area. There's a lot to see and do. I know a lot of people who are already planning, you know, like longer trips around it. I know for anybody who may not have gone before, this will be my first year officially going. But I mean, as a heads up, make sure that you reserve stuff early. Like everybody at Gamerscape's already, you know, talking about stuff. But
yeah, we've got hotels booked already. At some point, I'm sure that they'll release details about, you know, hotel deals and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of people are already booking that stuff now, booking flights. I do want to issue just a little warning though. The venue space, I think some people were saying it's supposed to be double of what this last NA Fan Fest was. And I don't remember the numbers right offhand. It will be bigger. There will be more people to go, but there is always the chance, as much as it would suck, that you will not get a ticket. And so I know the previous Fan Fest, every year, there's always that one person on Reddit that is just livid because they couldn't get a ticket, their friends couldn't get them a ticket, and now they have this flight they can't refund. So don't buy the flight. Wait till you get the tickets. Be smart about this, guys.
Or make sure that you get something that you can refund, right? Like a lot of hotels will have like read over everything. You can find a hotel that you can book that doesn't have a deposit that's required and that has like very clear cancellation policies. Yeah. So just make sure you read that. Make sure that, you know, if you're tight on money and you're like, oh, I'm going to book that flight because I'm definitely going. So you book a flight that is non-refundable and non-cancelable or non-changeable, that like you realize that you may just lose out on that $400 or whatever it is that it's going to cost you.
I mean, that's the thing, right? With FanFest, it's like you see FanFest and you and your friends, it's like hype mode extreme, right? Which is awesome. Be excited. But try and take a breath before you start booking stuff that you may not be able to unbook. Yeah. It's just, you know, it doesn't happen to a lot of people, but I feel like every time a FanFest pops up, there's always at least 1 or 2 people I see that are just absolutely pissed to the max about, I couldn't get a ticket. Now I have this hotel room and flight that I can't do anything with. Well, that's your own damn fault. I hate to say it. So just take a minute, plan accordingly.
There are issues on both sides because, I mean, as we've talked about before, in past years, the way that some of this has been handled or like anticipated, or the way that like some of those judgment calls about like the demand for something like this in NA and the limited amount of social gathering opportunities that we get, especially with like the North American community. I mean, of course people want to do it. And I don't think that Square has always been really proactive about making sure that people can be accommodated, right? And so like even, one, I tried to go to it, but the website was just exploding. Like you couldn't even get to the page to even get a ticket. Like,
well, and then people were saying they had codes to get in, but they didn't need the code. There was all sorts of issues that people were talking about with the tickets. And so
fingers crossed this year is better, and they've they have a new center, they have a better like understanding of
them improve at least a little bit every year in places where they have problems.
I was just gonna say merch, right, is the historically absolutely terrible
beautiful
thing.
Machine now.
But last year they absolutely nailed it. And so also last year they had issues with the ticketing stuff and availability. This year there's gonna be more space, so hopefully they also make the ticket stuff a little bit better. So I think it'll happen. Hopefully it's not a Paris Fan Fest experience where they think it's going to be amazing and it turns out just as bad or worse than it was the last year. But I have faith. I have faith that it'll go well. I mean, I don't know what the demand is going to be. Obviously, more people are playing the game now than they were last Fan Fest. So yeah, I mean, talk to your friends, plan to, get in a queue, get tickets for everybody. And it's, fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully, I mean, I want to see them sell out because this is costly for them.
It will sell out.
Yes. But I hope that everybody who wants to go gets to go also.
Right. Yeah. I think it was the first Fan Fest they did where you could still get tickets for a little bit, like after the initial rush, which is nice, right? If you forgot or whatever, you can still get in. I don't know. I honestly don't know how it's gonna go. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I don't know if they'll do systems like they've done before, if they'll do a lottery thing, or it's rough, but I mean they do that stuff in Japan all the time. The fan gatherings at PAX.
That's Hotel actually this past year.
Yeah, the fan gatherings at PAX East are lottery. Yeah, so who knows? So that's first NA November 6th and 7th in San Diego. After that, we have Japan up December 19th and 20th. They are in Nagoya this time around, not Tokyo, and they are going to be at the Aichi Sky Expo. And then last is Europe, February 20th and 21st. As we predicted, this will be in London since they did London, they did Frankfurt, they did Paris. We're back to London again. This will be at Excel London. So spread out just like they normally are. We'll have a patch in between all that. So there you go. San Diego, November 6th and 7th for NA. We'll be there. We hope that we'll see you guys there.
I thought you were going to say we'll be there. We hope. We'll be there.
I hope we'll be there. I'll be there.
We'll be there. Standing outside the door. Hi.
Hi, guys. Can I come in?
Yep.
Wearing my FanFest shirt from last year. See, I played the game. Can I come in and see? I want to. Anyway, that is the end. That's the last announcement. So anything else that we want to throw in here?
I'm excited. That's all.
I am very excited.
5.2 looks like
I'm going to Disney before FanFest, so I'm very excited. My wallet, not so much, but I am very excited.
That's not game related.
I mean, I'm excited too for PAX East coming up this month.
Yes.
I know Fusion and I are going to be out there, and I mean, there's a lot more happening for Final Fantasy than we thought. So, I mean, that's just going to be amazing to get to see everybody and get a little bit hyped and hear everything that
Not one, but 2 fan gatherings.
Yeah, for both.
Crazy.
So.
We asked,
crazy.
and they delivered.
Yeah. So there you go. That'll do it. If you want, I'm like, what are we doing?
Anything we missed?
No, we're good. If you want, you can email us at aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. You can tweet at us at aetheryteradio. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Discord at Gamerscape. Discord.gg/Gamerscape. We have an Aetheryte radio channel. If you want to talk to us about the show, if you have questions, you can also email us, tweet at us, hit us up on Discord, talk to us in the Twitch chat. If you guys have questions, I know we did do our Ask Aetheryte Radio, Dear Aetheryte Radio stuff for the last couple episodes. We're always taking questions. If you guys have questions, make sure to send them over. And that's going to do it for this week. Next week should be prelim patch notes. So we'll go over those and see what's coming. It won't have job details because they're skipping those because it induces stress, apparently. But hopefully we'll talk about the prelim patch notes here next week.
It's just a game, guys. Don't get stressed out of over jobs. Come on. I want to know what happens. I need to be excited and not stressed.
I need to know how. I need to know how they're taking Summoner down a peg. I just have to know. So
maybe that's why, because up until now they really haven't done nerfs a whole lot. So they're like, oh my gosh, people are gonna freak out over this actual nerf.
Well, I mean, they did say though, didn't they, with the live letter that like
they're just gonna remove Phoenix.
They're deleting Summoner from the game.
Charles is like, I'm not playing this anymore.
They're personally targeting Charles and victimizing him. No, I mean, I think from what I saw, and I'm not 100% sure, but they said mostly that it's probably going to be like fine tuning the Summoner buffs, debuffs. Okay. So like taking down that dot potency a little bit. But then they also mentioned that they're looking to like bring other classes a little bit closer to where Summoner is currently sitting.
At least in range, yeah.
I mean, yeah. So hopefully that kind of applies to everything as opposed to just like tearing down the things you love. They're going to be trying to just keep everybody, pretty strong and going well.
Keep calm. It's okay.
It's gonna be okay unless you want to place markers mid-fight. Then you're in trouble.
Or you want to socialize via fellowship.
All right, that's gonna do it for us this week. We will see you here next week. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, guys.